Hello and welcome. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to turn a plan document that you've hand drawn into a SketchUp 3D model, and then also present that information in Layout. So the first thing we're going to do is create a folder for the project. I recommend putting this on your own Google Drive or some kind of cloud storage utility so you always have access to it. I'm going to call this the plan to SketchUp, and I'm going to double click in that, and I'm going to create a folder inside of that, and I'm going to call that this one SketchUp, and make another one, and I'm going to call this one completed documents. How about that? Okay. The next thing I want to do is navigate to the Google Drive that containing all the source information. You should be able to find that. I'll link to that in your email. I'm going to go into the SketchUp, and I am going to we'll create our own textures, but I'm going to download these components so we all can be on the same page. So I'm just going to right click on it and say download. If it won't allow you to right click and download, you'll have to open it in your own drive. You'll see an option here that will say open it in your own drive or add to your drive, and when you do that, it'll allow you then to download these documents as a zip. Okay, so I'm gonna click on that and go into it, and it's just a folder. I'm actually gonna copy the whole folder and come into my SketchUp folder and just dump it in there. So I have components, and I'm going to right click in here and create a new folder. I'm going to call this textures. Okay. Alright. Now, since we're on the topic of textures, let's go ahead and just look up some textures, and I'll show you how to do this. In SketchUp, there's a standard library that comes with textures you can apply to your model. However, you can go online and find additional textures that might be more appropriate for your design. So in this instance, I'm going to type in diamond paver pattern and see what comes up. You could also type in seamless just to see what comes up here. I don't see the one that I like. It's close. There we go. I like that one. So I like this pattern, and I think that it looks like it's going to be a seamless for me too. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say save image as, and I'm going to navigate to my parent folder, that's SketchUp and textures, and I'm going to call this diamond pattern pavers. Alright, and you can go through and pick different materials that you want to apply to your design. So if I wanted to have asphalt, you can go seamless as well for this. It should yield more results. And you'll see you have tons of patterns in here that you can select from and then add to your model. I think I also want to have a concrete. Okay. You can kind of play around. Sometimes this is half the battle. I'm just going to select this one just to kind of go with something to show you. But the point is, you can select any image that you want or any texture that you would like to import into your model. So as soon as this, there we go. I'm going to right click here and say save image as, and I'll just call this concrete. I have a band in my project, I believe, and so on and so forth. So that's how you would capture your textures that you would then apply in your design. Alright, so now we're ready to rock. I'm going to go into SketchUp. I'm going to be running 2015 in this demonstration, but the same techniques can be used in 2014. I'm also using a Macintosh computer, so some things will be slightly different on a PC, but generally speaking, the same rules will apply. So we're starting with the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and go to the same template rather. I'm going to go to architectural design and say start using SketchUp. Okay, so we're gonna make some modifications to this so we can work and be on the same page. I'm going to select Edit under my Styles window dialog box, and if you don't see that, your Windows dialog boxes are under your Windows menu here, and you can just turn those on. Okay, so I'm working in Styles right now, and I'm going to take my profile, and for now I'm just going to turn it off, and I don't want to see extensions or endpoints. I just want to see edges, and that's fine. I'm going to select what is this option? Face settings. And for now, I'm just going to turn on display in shaded mode and not with texture, and you'll see the difference in that later. Also, I'm going to make my face a different color. I'm going to make the face blue, just so I kind of know that it's really distinguishable from me. I like making that green or something, so it's a different color, but I can see it. Okay. You can turn the sky on and off here too. You can leave, it doesn't really matter. I'll leave my background and sky on for now. Okay, so now I'm also going to just go ahead and hit update. And now everybody should be on the same page as far as the way that the model is representing itself. I'm using also a 3D connection, 3D wireless mouse, which allows me to more easily navigate in 3D. It's a really useful tool. You can also navigate by hitting O for orbit, or selecting the orbit icon, or by selecting or clicking and holding the middle click flywheel on your mouse in order to orbit. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have my views on. I don't see it here. Just snap my windows together and kind of minimize them. I'm going to right click here and say Customize Toolbar, and I want my standard views, and I want to make sure that I'm in top view. And then my camera, I'm going to go ahead and put that in parallel projection. Parallel projection is just a straight on view with no angle, with no vanishing point. It's just a straight on dead shot. So we want to make sure that we're in parallel projection and that we're in plan view. I'm going to go and actually click on my layers and create a layer, and I'm going to call this image, and I'm going to put myself on that layer. I'm going to go File, Import, and I'm looking for a JPEG in this instance. And this should be the image that you drew, your line drawing. And where is mine at? Mine is here, and completed pieces, line drawing. Okay, and that is the wrong one. That's the wrong one. File, import. That's odd. Let's say I'll support types. Everyone one by one. Well, I guess this is a good way. If that happens to you, I'm gonna go into Photoshop and see what the issue is. So I'm just clicking in Photoshop to do this. And a caveat: if you scanned your folder or scanned your file and it's a PDF on the scanner, you will have to convert it to JPEG if you're on PC. You cannot insert PDFs into SketchUp on PC, to my knowledge. I'm going to say this is a PNG. I should be allowed to insert that actually. So let's see if that works. Okay. That'll export out. And I'm going to go back into SketchUp and try that again. So I'm going to go File, Import. That is odd. I'm gonna go ahead and just change this and make it a medium to make the image smaller, and see if that that helps out any. Okay, looks like that works. So there goes my line drawing. It'll pop in here. It should be on the image layer, so I'm just gonna pull this out. And you'll notice that as I tilt, obviously this is not to scale, so we need to scale it. So I want to use and keep this model as a reference, so I'm going to click on him and just right click and say lock. I'm going to go back to top view. I have it shortcutted to a command 1 on my keyboard. And to create shortcuts, you can go to Windows, I believe, on PC, and preferences here. It's going to be through my SketchUp preferences. And you can go into shortcuts and you can look for it and actually type it in. So if I wanted to do, I don't know, the pan, for instance, or paste in place, you see that I have a shortcut allocated to it. So you would just select it, put in your key command, and then hit plus on PC to initiate it. So you can create shortcuts for anything. So you can personalize your workspace. Okay. So anyway, so I have my drawing here, and I need to scale it. So in order to scale it, you have to have a known drawing, a known reference. And I know that I drew my trees from this loop, this interior loop, to the next interior loop is going to be 30 feet. So I am going to, on my image, hit L for my line tool, and I'm going to draw from that point and come across here, and select that point. And then I'm going to hit T for tape measure, and I'm going to hit this point and the next point, and I'm going to say that it's 30 feet. When I do that, it asks me if I want to resize the model. I want to say yes. So now I've scaled my model, and I'm looking for the guy now. You see that's a much more appropriate, he's in a much more appropriate size for the scale of the drawing. Okay, so now we can see. Alright, so let me go back. And what I like to do is explode the drawing, double click on it, and I will make it a right click and then make it a group. I'll right click again and then I'll lock it. Okay, so now now the drawing is locked. I am going to go back to layer 0 right now. Now the name of the game is creating faces right now. We're going to treat all the vertical elements, all our trees. In this instance, I also have these geodesic dome homes that I found on 3D Warehouse that I thought were cool that I wanted to use as well, and some benches and some lights and the required elements in the assignment, but you can also add additional elements if you'd like after you've learned how to use these tools. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that line too. All right, so to create faces, I'm on layer 0 now. I'm gonna hit L for my line tool, and really I'm just gonna get, well, before I do that, let me hit find the rectangle tool, and I'm just gonna draw this base out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw this, and I know that's kind of where this thing's gonna stop. Now when I draw that, I instantly see this green face that's populated in front of me. What you can do is, and I have this up already, but if you don't, you can pull in styles. And when you pull in styles, it allows you to then put it in transparency. When it's in transparency, then you can see your drawing below it. And I'm going to continue to draw. So I have that first rectangle drawn in. Now I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm just going to kind of trace my drawing. And you notice that it gives you some reference points. See that red axis. I don't want to snap to that though right now, but it's good because it allows you to infer. I'm just going to come down and we'll work all that out in a little bit. I'll go here, okay, here, here, here. Looks like I'm right there. Right there. And see again, I'm once again I'm just drawing these lines out. And okay, nice perpendicular line. This is nice and neat. It's gonna be there. There. And to pan, when I have the tool, rather than having to let go of my tool, I just hold in, you hold shift while you hold in your middle click button, and it allows you to then pan. And then when you let go, it defaults to the tool that you were last on, so you don't have to lose your pencil tool or your line tool for drawing. So I'm going to come here, I don't want it to be straight, I'm going to zoom in. There, there. Go ahead and I guess start drawing that shape in. Alright. Alright. Looks like that kind of goes like that. Kind of goes like that. Looks like that. And I'll just use this as a reference and come off of it. There you go, and now I'll just come off of it the same way. Delete that excess. Okay. Same principle, come up. That's good. There. Looks like the line went down there like that. There. There, same thing. There, I'm just gonna come in and connect. Delete the excess. Hitting E for my eraser as a shortcut just to clean those lines up. And as I go through, just clean them up. Alright, so we have that, and I believe there's just one more little shape. That's going like that, and I'll just trim that. Okay, so we call that the shape. And I'm going to keep on going, and this is just going to hit right there, come up. Okay. Nice and perpendicular to that line, so I'll go perpendicular. All right. So it's coming along. Now I know I'm making separate faces because I can select these now. And you see I have different pieces that I'm able to actually grab. So that's what you want, the ability to grab different faces, multiple faces. Now I've been doing straight lines, but arcs are just as easy. So I'm going to hit A for arc, and I'm going to click this point. And actually, let me just deselect everything. A for arc. I'm going to click this point. Kind of going to come up here and click again, and then I'm just going to move it around to where I want it to be. So it looks pretty good to me. Click the point again. There we go. There. Just double clicking to those points. Let it help me clean up some of my line work. Come over here, same thing. And you can see how you can kind of quickly begin to get this thing traced. Oops, go back. Going through. All right, almost there, and I'm just going to use a straight line from there to kind of come straight through. All right. So now I've created a face in here, and I want to, well, let me also just connect these lines. So let me make sure I connect this with that and create a face. All right, so that's nice to know how that face. So I'm going to double click in here. You see, when I double click, all these lines are selected. And I want to use that to my advantage because then it should allow me to offset it. So I can select my offset tool, and I know that my path is supposed to be 6 feet, so I'm just going to type in 6 feet. So now I have that line. I have some work I have to delete, but that's okay. I can quickly kind of knock those lines away. All right. Don't need that. That's not good. And I'll just continue this line straight through and delete that line as well. And you can see how you can begin to quickly then build these faces, creating your design. All right, so it's looking good. And I'm just going to kind of continue to do that. And actually, another way of doing that too is I'm going to hit M for my move tool and hold, I'm holding Alt, I believe it's Control on a PC. And I'm come over on the axis, I'm going to type in 6 feet. And it'll give me my point there as well the same way. Hit A for my arc tool. Looks like it's doing something like that. I'm doing this quickly so I can, well, still be accurate though. Let me delete that. And just oops. And I'll keep going around. And that looks like a straight line. All right, it looks like a arcs there, and I'll just delete that. And kind of using that same principle again, I'll click there and then I'll use the offset. And I know that that's supposed to be 6 feet. Okay, and I'll just come in here and delete the extra line work that I don't need. All that can go. with that. And that can go as well there. And okay. So that looks good. Go ahead and draw that in too. Zoom in. Alright, that looks good. This time, let me just kind of try to deselect some of these lines. I'm holding Shift just to deselect them. I don't need that as either. I'm going to try to just offset that. That's cleaner, 6 feet. So not as much cleanup work, and I'll just kind of continue that arc there to that arc, and there we go. And then I'll just delete that extra line work there. That. And again, just try to clean some of that extra line work up that we don't need. Okay. Good. Alright, faces are starting to get made there. And let me go ahead and just clean this arc up as well. And do that. Okay. Great, so you see how that's pretty much done. I get this last loop, or last 2 loops in. Over here, I've connected that. Get that, and this, cut that off as well, don't need those. But I do like to have that, and I will offset this in. Oops. See if this will do something right now. Oops. Do 6 feet. And then I'll just clean that up here. Oops. All right. Clean all that up. Looks like there's some extra stuff in there. The cleaner you keep your line, just make sure your model run better. It's just good to work cleanly. And get rid of that. It's kind of a weird kink, but that's alright. Get this last one done. On this side, at least. Gotta clean that up. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to put it on the photo that I created into my SketchUp. And I'll just keep it on the outside, and I'll call it model. Alright, so hopefully you're getting as close, or you're already there tracing your spaces. You also notice that that's off as well. Okay. Save. Okay, there's one more path for me. So connect the line kind of here and continue to draw it out. let's say principal again, just deselect the lines that I don't want so I don't have all this extraneous line work to delete afterwards. And do that, and then I'm just gonna use my offset tool again and come up with 6 feet. Alright. And back to that tool and just click this point and trying to get something to line up. Alright, and I'm just going to delete this stuff in here. Delete that. And I want to make sure this one's closed. Just come out. So now we should have a face. Alright, so I'm going to save that. So my areas are almost done. But they are done. Okay. Great. Because all that would be that. I'm not gonna. Okay. Great. So now what we want to do is begin to carve these spaces up. So just to begin to work cleanly and practice this, it's just kind of a good habit to be in. I am going to create a layer and call this naturalized area. I'm going to say V for vegetation and then naturalized area. Alright. Okay, so once you've created your naturalized area layer, I'm going to select that. I'm going to double click this. It's all going to be naturalized area for me. And I'm going to go to Entity Info. And if you don't see this, it's under Windows. Find your Entity Info. And I'm going to put it on that layer. And I'm on that layer, and I'm also going to make that into a group. So I'm going to say Shift G or Control G or Command G for me. Control G for you on PC. And you'll notice that a box is kind of created around it, and you can actually turn that off. If I put myself on layer 0 now and turn that off, it'll disappear. So I'm going to kind of take this thing apart piece by piece. So I know that this is also going to be a naturalized area for me. So I double click in it and put it in naturalized area. I make sure that I'm on that layer too. And actually I'm going to put this in this layer. So before I make that a group, let me explode that. They're still on the naturalized areas. I'm just going to click on all my areas and hold Shift and I'm combine them to one group, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to click in this, double click in that. This is all naturalized. That's naturalized. This is naturalized. I have that already. So all those areas are naturalized for me, and I have this one in here and here. Okay. So, well, actually, that one's not going to be naturalized, actually. But everything else is naturalized for me. So then I'm going to put that on naturalized layer, and I'm going to make that into a group. So now if I put myself on layer 0, I can turn all of that off at one time, and that is what it's supposed to look like. Good. So I'm going to keep on going. All that is going to be for me. I'm going to create a layer, and I'm going to call that P for paving. And in this instance, this is going to be stone dust. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to make sure that that is on stone dust and put myself on that, and then make that a group. Okay. And back to layer 0, I'm going to turn the stone dust off. This is just going to be a random lawn area. Create a plus sign. V for vegetation, and I'm going to call it lawn or fescue area. And put myself on that. Make sure that this is on that, and make that into a group. Okay. I should be able to turn that off now. Great. These areas for me are going to be planter beds. So, and actually I'm going to create a layer and just call it vegetation and call it planter bed. And then parents, in my mind, these are going to be some burning bush. So I'm just put that up there like that. I'm double clicking these areas. And there's a little tab there, there. Holding Shift to do this, to select multiple pieces. Put it on the planner bed, put myself on it, and group that. Okay, I can turn that off. That should disappear. Okay. And then what we're left with is just the main terrace area. I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to call this paving as well. And I'm going to call this pervious pavers. Okay. And actually, I'm going to put that, I'm going to do a diamond pattern. Okay. And I'm going to put myself on that, and I'm going to make sure that this is on that layer. And I'm going to make that into a group as well. And then that should disappear. Great. So I have this thing kind of taken apart. And what I'm left with now are these pieces here, which represent really the sculpture. And I'll go ahead and make that, I guess, now at this time a component, since we have everything else done. And you can do this with shapes that you're kind of creating. For me, this is a sculptural piece, so I would select everything and just put this on a new group. I'm going to call this SF for Site Furnishings, and this is going to be just the small sculpture. Okay. Put myself on that layer and small sculpture. I had my image selected there. Small sculpture there, and then so I'm going to make that a group for now. And I'll go ahead and put myself back on layer 0 and just turn that off. Okay, so now this thing is nice and carved up. What I want to do now is create some, I got my person there too, is create some components for my trees, for my canopy trees and then my understory trees, and the same principle then apply for everything else for your pedestrian lights and benches. Okay. So what I'm going to do is first create a layer, and I'm going to call that V for vegetation, and I'm going to call that canopy tree. And I'm going to go to that. I'm going to go to my circle tool, and kind of grab a center point here, drag out. Should be a 15-foot radius on that. Okay, that's good. Let's give us 30. Now that's drawn. I'm going to double click in that. I'm going to right click, and this time I'm going to say make a component. And I'm going to call this canopy tree. Maybe in parents it's, I don't know, maybe these are oaks. I don't know, maybe not oaks. Maybe just a whole bunch of maples. Okay. Oh, and let me edit the component again. And actually, let me redo this. This is a critical thing you have to do. So, explode it if you made it a group. Let's do this again together. So, and I'll show you why. I'm still in the canopy tree. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say make a component. Make a component. And we'll call this canopy tree. And I'll call it maple. And you need to set the component axis. And I'm going to put it dead center of the circle. And click it out. Alright, make sure it's replace selection with component and then say create. Alright, so now you'll see it there's a box over it. So now what we want to do is copy this thing over. So I'm going to go to my move tool and hold Alt and just kind of drag it over, place into each of these pieces. Another way of doing this too is to bring up, let me minimize my layers, is to bring up your Windows components. It'll pop in. And this one I believe is what? This is maple, not plural, so the other one didn't go away. You can actually click on it the same way and just drop it in. So I can click on this and without having to go through the move tool. So this might be easier for you. And I'm just going to find one for each of these. Just kind of dragging them in. Again, you can copy as well. Okay. Copy. Copy. And again, this way, if we wanted to size. Another one. And I'll keep on going. It is nice to copy from that because it gives you that reference point that we created, so I can be more accurate with my placement. So it is kind of nice to be able to do that. And it's there. We'll keep on going. There. And you would do this for each tree, basically. And I will jump through some of this so it's not as painful. Just get it done now. Okay, coming to the last one now. So that wasn't horrible. And now I want to create, let me go back, let me minimize components, going back to layers. So that was Canopy. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to say V, and I'm going to call it Understory Trees. And let me get off of that to put myself on the Understory. Circle the same way. And just kind of drag that out to where it looks right. And double click there, right click, make a component, the same thing. I'm going to say Understory Tree. I'm not sure what these, maybe these are some kind of small lace bark, if there's a small variety, maybe, I don't know. Lace bark, elms. I don't know what those are yet. Set component axis, dead center, create. Okay, and then again the same thing. I can use that previous technique. It should be in there, Understory, right there. I'm just dropping them in. And if you're having problems finding these items, make sure that you click the home in model. It shows you the elements that you have in your model. So I'm going to kind of put that there. Shift over here. And oops. Shift these little guys over. There. 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 A few more. Almost done. All right. That's more over here. Okay, so now I have my trees kind of placed in the model. Now these are just 2D flat trees right now, right? But we can easily change those, so we're going to keep those as placeholders, and that's what we want. So let me minimize components and go back into my layers. Everything's looking clean, and make sure that I save this. All right, I'm going to create a layer, and I'm going to call this one B for buildings. And I'm going to call it the Agro Plaza, or the vertical garden tower, rather. I'll make sure that I'm on that layer. And on my image too, I'm just going to put a 00 prefix so it comes to the top, so it's kind of separate from everything else. So I'm on my B vertical garden tower, and I'm going to use my rectangle tool for this one. So R for rectangle tool, or there we go. And I'm just going to try to find the center point of this. I'm not going to be, dead on. I'm going to find the center point of this though. And let me draw a line in the center. And actually what I'm going to do is just click both sides. I'm on that. And I'm going to make that a component. And I'm going to call it the vertical garden tower. And set the component axis. I'm going to put it dead in the center. There, and create. Alright. Double click here. I don't need that line. Alright. So now we have the building, we have our trees. I could put my sculptural pieces in. I have some wind turbines and other things. You would do the same thing for each element. So for my benches, I would do the exact same thing. I'll do that. So it's just SF benches put myself on it. I'm going to use the rectangle tool and just kind of trace those. And I'm just going to do a center point here. Both sides. Right click, I'm going to make this a component. And I'm going to call it benches. Set the component axis. And create. Okay, I'll just get rid of that line, it just bothers me, so I'm going to get rid of it. I can then go into my components here, go into benches, and drop these things in piece by piece. So that's how you would do that. Okay, so once you have that, I'm saving definitely. Let's start bringing some of these things in now and updating these so it actually gets 3D. I am going to, well first, once we have that, let's do it be more sequential. Let me turn those off now. So what I want to see, I don't need to see my benches, and I don't need to, oops, myself on layer 0. I don't need to see benches. I want to see these other elements though. Basically all of my ground plane elements again I want to turn on. I don't need to see understory. Okay. Don't need to see the sculpture right now, that's fine too. Okay. So now I know that this is on my naturalized area, so I'm going to start applying textures to these things. And let me go and find a naturalized texture. So let me say wavy grass seamless. Okay. That wasn't so bad, the one on top, was it? You want to make sure these things are seamless or it'll look bad, so sometimes you have to compromise a little. That one looks pretty good though. Save image as. And this is defaulting to the last, let me make sure I'm in the right texture place though. SketchUp, textures, I'll say wavy grass. Make sure there's not a better one in here real quick. And again, once you have done this a few times, you could you can save these textures out so you're not fishing for them every single time. I'm just using one I had before just to show you as an example. So I'm going to hit B for my materials, my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to look at what's in the model. Okay. And what I want to do is I'm actually going to go to a color. And I'm going to make this thing this gold color right now. And I'm going to select it. When I select it, because it's in a group, it's going to paint everything that color. I'm going to go back to my home icon. The color is going to be there now. I'm going to right click on it and say edit. And I'm going to click this icon to load a texture. And I'm going to navigate to my textures and say wavy grass. And when I do that, this wavy grass is then tiled on for me. And we can't see it right now. Let me turn my transparency off. Okay, it's just sitting on top of the image. So I'm going to turn my image off. I don't need that. When I turn that off, you'll see that this thing is basically tiled over and over again. It seems very small, but you can modify the size of it. So maybe if it was like 15 feet or something, yeah. And it's looking like it's not seamless either, which is not giving me a nice grain. But you see that you can change the size of it. So let me just find a little bit better one than that. Both these look pretty good to me, but that's kind of funky, so I'm gonna save image as and just say pervious paver, and go back here, and I'm just gonna actually edit that and load a texture onto it, and my pervious paver. There you go. Okay, so that's nice and seamless and looks clean. Oops. Oh, do that again. Load pervious paver. Okay. And that looks good to me. Okay. So that's that. These things are kind of going together. The red, I'm just going to leave red for now. You can find something else. And again, it depends on what model that you're using, what materials you're using for your own. I'm going to do a save image as, nice compact, and I'm going to call this Stone Dust. All right, and I'm just going to find another color for that as well. Maybe it's kind of this here. Back to my model. Edit that. You're just going to load. And that Stone Dust comes in. And maybe it gets a little bit bigger. Grain of it. Okay. There goes your Stone Dust there. Alright, so there goes kind of the design, at least the base for it. Now what I want to do is start turning on these things and make these elements 3D and bring in my pieces in that I have my materials kind of there. I'm going to turn back on my canopy trees. And I'm just going to click on one of them, right click and say reload. And I'm going to navigate to my desktop. And let's grab the canopy tree elevation. I'm going to say open. And when I do that, all those trees are then populated in the model. So we can kind of see them there. Now, I'm going to turn my camera, also put it in perspective so you can see a little bit easier. And you'll see that we have all of our canopy trees there. So I'm just going to turn those off. And then I'm going to go into my Understory tree, turn them on, and reload that, and Understory elevation. Okay. So now we kind of got those. And I can turn everything on. And those seem really tiny to me. So if something happens like that, I can double click in one. It's representational of all of them. I'm going to go find my scale tool. So tools and scale. And I'm just going to hold my shift and just pull that top tab just to kind of make them a little bit bigger. Okay. Alright. So there goes some trees now. Okay. Good. A bit subtle, we can see. Great. Now, those are your trees and all those elements. Now I want to bring in the building, so I'm going to put the building back on. Same way, reload. And I'm going to select my vertical garden. And it should just pop in. Alright. Now once you have your elements there and all that, you can play with the colors and you can change some things out. If you want to change your trees out, you can. just make sure that it's a 2D face metering. And it's just using the same principles, but keep the building there so we have some kind of frame of reference for everybody's work. Okay, so that is the first part of bringing it into SketchUp. And now once you have that kind of set, and again you can play with these things, you can export it into Layout to print this thing out. Okay, so I've gone through and I've made some modifications to the model. I just swapped out my trees for some different trees. And I reduced the opacity of the canopy, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. And just changed out some of the textures to make it look better. Also with the building, I just changed the color to white and changed that green window to a bluer window. So yeah, so it's the same model, same thing we started off with. Just with updated materials. So you can kind of get a decent aesthetic even in SketchUp before you get to any rendering program. It's still schematic, but it's good enough where you can present this and convey some idea, so some sense of what you're trying to do. Okay. So now that you have this thing done, well, let me show you how to modify some of these colors. Let me do a zoom extents. With the paint bucket or materials tool selected, you can hold, I believe, Control or Alt on the PC. I'm using my command on my Mac, and select the color. And you'll see that that color is then highlighted over here in your materials palette dialog box. When you're there, you can edit it. On the Mac, you'll right click. On the PC, you'll just select Edit. And you can change the color of these things and also the opacity, so I can make it so it's not, transparent, and I can reduce the opacity again some more to what it was. So you can also completely change the color of these things too. So if you wanted that, you can get that. So pretty powerful tools to begin to bring life into your model and kind of make it your own. Add decent colors and stuff to it. So that's pretty much how you edit that, and so I just selected the color for the canopy tree and I reduced the opacity the same way I manipulated the window colors on the building. Alright, so now that you have this done, once you go through and you modify it, and I'll also include these trees in the components folder in this reference, so you'll have access to that if you want to use these. Alright, so I have these pieces done, and now what I'm going to do is bring this thing to Layout. So I'm definitely want to save this after you've completed it. And what I want to do, well, before we go to Layout, what I want to do is create some scenes just to make it easier when we get in Layout. And scenes are basically just camera shots, and they also maintain certain properties of the drawing too. But it allows you, when you get into Layout, to quickly kind of set up your sheet for printing. So I'm going to turn back on my window dialog boxes, and also I took off the model axis just to make it present a little bit cleaner. So I did all that through here through my styles, and I want to show edges, but if you didn't, let me just zoom in and show you what it would look like. For presentation, sometimes you'll just turn edges off, because in real life there's no black edges around things, right? So you kind of get a different aesthetic, so it's another way of beginning to play with this stuff. But we're going to leave edges on, or I'm going to leave edges on for my presentation at least. I'll leave that option up to you. You can also jitter the edges to kind of give it more of a hand-drawn feel. So yeah, I'm going to turn that off though, actually. And that's good to me. So I'm just going to kind of zoom into a view that I want to take. And for me, I'm just going to kind of fill my screen. Maybe come up some. Oh, see some white peeking through. That looks good to me for a first scene. So I have my scenes dialog box here. And if you don't see that, you go to your windows and pull up your scenes dialog box. And I'm just going to add a scene. And scene number 1, I'm just going to update, and it's going to ask me what properties I want to maintain: camera location, headed geometry. So everything I see here is what I maintain. So I'm going to say update that. So that's going to be my scene 1. I'm gonna kind of zoom in and to this like that. Try to get another interesting shot maybe of it. And maybe that's good. We'll try to do an eye level. All right. And add a scene update. Could be scene 2. Okay. So all you really need is one in here. I'm just showing you examples of how to set these things, and maybe I'll do one where I'm kind of zoomed out on it and kind of getting a shot of that tower like that, and the landscape below. Let me do a zooming sense on then. Okay, and then maybe that's a scene 3. So I'm just kind of setting my scenes and update. Okay. And maybe I'm just gonna see what this looks like. Turn the edges off on that. It's kind of hard to see like that. So I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm just gonna say save. And I'm gonna go to send the layout. If you don't see that, that should be in your toolbars. But you need to go and find that icon, or you can just open it up. It's not. I can just open it up through layout too. Either way. So in layout, excuse me, I'm gonna choose a I'm gonna open and let's see if I can't find the template. Okay, so I have a template that I've given you already, right? Kind of this file, and I'm just going to delete this information in here because now I might keep one of these text boxes, but I don't need this other information, so I'm just going to delete this. I'm just clicking on it and just hitting delete on each of these items. Alright, and you'll see that you have dialog boxes to the right hand side. It's kind of how you begin to manipulate the elements within layout. There is a layers over here that should be here, and I'm going to go ahead and put myself on viewports and just go file, insert, and actually I want to file, I want to, yeah, that's right, insert. And I'm going to go to my desktop and navigate to that and to the model. And when I do that, it will bring in my model in the last view that I had on the model. So in here now, you know, I can begin to play and kind of come up with these. I'm going to go to my SketchUp model here and preserve scale and resize, so when I move this window it keeps the model the same way, and that's good for me. Okay, so maybe I have something like that, I don't know. And you can kind of just play with layouts for this. Can move this to the side for now. I can copy this over by using the move tool and just holding Alt. Gives me a copy of it, and then when I'm on this new viewport, this is actually live. It's actually a window into that model space world. I can go to my scene saved, and I can go to like scene 1, for instance, and scene 1 will be populated in that window. So I got that really cool scene that's kind of there, and I have this one that's kind of here. So this scene's nice, and again, the preservation of size and on scale and resize is selected. So I could just do a view like that and kind of call it a day. It's scene 1. And I can double click in this, and you'll notice when I double click in it, it's live. So I can always go in and begin to modify that scene and to get really anything that I want. I've actually have access to that scene. So for now I can tilt this thing and do kind of anything that I want to it here. to make modifications. So you're actually in your 3D model. So it's live. So maybe I'd have that one there, and you can arrange these things. So I can right click on it. Oops. Right click on it, arrange, and bring to front so it's on top of the other one. And then maybe you can have like another sub scene, you know, something you can just kind of show the tower in its full extent. Maybe there. And maybe it would just shrink. And just kind of fit in the window where it would go. So we kind of know what's going on with it, and then I would just preserve, scale, and resize. Yeah. So maybe we have something kind of like that, and that's your presentation. And then you would just go in here and then double click. So make the modifications, anything you want to write. Make sure the scale is 1 inch equals 20 feet. Oh well, that's well, 1 inch equals 20 feet is going to be for the first sheet, and for the second sheet, you really won't. It doesn't matter. There is no scale because these are all just perspective shots. So I'll just type in no scale. All right. Oops. Let me do a space over. All right, and change the sheet number too. That's the big one. Just change the sheet to number 2. All right, there you go. Put your logo in, and you're good to go. If you want to add notes to it, you could add notes. This thing is actually dynamic. You know, you can type information in and label things. You know, the geodesic window or something. You can actually label these things too and add notes to it. So if there's things you want to talk about in your model that you liked, you can, you know, make notes here and just label it in Layout. I'll get rid of that one too. All right, so once you have that all kind of set up, then you can just go File, Export. And I'm going to go back to that and my project, completed documents, and I'll just call this sheet 2 or something, sheet 2, and save it. It'll export for you. It'll open up and you'll have your sheet, and then all you have to do is just print this from the plotter. Your name and everything will be on it, and you'll be done.